Hi, everybody. I'm Holly, and welcome back to my inland Southern California Zone 9B home garden. And what on earth is this business? You see, this is one of my raised beds, and there's just a jungle going on right here. And so these plants are actually not to eat. These plants are here to improve the quality of my soil. So today we're going to be talking about cover crops, and that's what this is. So cover crops are typically done on a larger scale in agriculture, but they can certainly be done in the home garden like I'm doing here. So what are cover crops? So they're plants that you can grow that in a number of ways can improve your soil. So, for example, it's really common for cover crop seed mixes to include plants that fix nitrogen, or they have basically a symbiotic relationship with bacteria in the soil, and those bacteria fix nitrogen. And so then that nitrogen is available for the future. And for those of you who might not know, nitrogen is typically the most important nutrient that your plant is going to need if you're talking in terms of fertilizer, although there are certainly other nutrients as well that they use. So these plants can fix nitrogen. So for example, legumes can do that. So these peas can do that. This is called vetch. Vetch can do that as well. Another benefit of cover crops has to do with adding biomass to the soil, and as that organic matter breaks down in the soil, it provides food for good bacteria and bugs and all the sorts of things. Basically the soil food web, which you can look up if you're not familiar with it. But there's all this life in the soil, and it needs something to eat. And then the life in the soil breaks down the organic matter and breaks it down to a point where it's in a usable form for any plants that you're going to put here in the future. So it's another way of improving the fertility of the soil. Also improves the quality. So it can improve aeration. There does need to be oxygen in the soil. It can improve water holding capacity. So it's just really amazing. So what I've done every year, every winter, I do this in the cool season because I garden year round here, is I pick one of my beds and I rotate, and I pick one of my beds to plant a cover crop in. So this was the bed this year. And the last few years, I've been using a seed mix from a company called Peaceful Valley Organics. It's a company from Northern California. I'm not affiliated with or sponsored by them in any way. And so I have their organic premium soil builder mix. And what's in it kind of varies a little bit from year to year depending on what they can source. But this one has Biomaster peas, bell beans, hairy vetch, common vetch, purple vetch, Frostmaster peas, and all of those have some sort of beneficial effect as a cover crop, and it's a really nice mix. So what do you do with a cover crop? You let it grow, and then once it starts to bloom, as you can see here, these peas are starting to bloom. That tells you that it's actually time to cut it down. So in agriculture, you will see them use tractors or some sort of heavy machinery to cut down the cover crop and till it into the soil. It's pretty common. I practice no-till and no-dig gardening, so I'm not going to be cutting this down and tilling it. And also it's a raised bed, so I would have to do it by hand, and that would be a pain. You'll also see in agriculture that they'll cut it down sometimes, and then they'll kind of crimp it and flatten it, and so it'll just lay on the top to decompose. For a while, the key is you want it to decompose, and that's how you're going to get the benefit out of it. Another thing that you can do, which is what I do, and it's easier in the home garden, is I'll go through and I'll cut these plants off at soil level, so only their roots are still in the soil, and then I will leave them there to degrade or to break down over the next 4 to 6 weeks or so, so that then everything will be ready for when I put in my warm season vegetables in a few weeks. And then what do I do with the stuff I cut down? Well, a lot of times I just leave it on top of the bed as a mulch until I'm ready to deal with it. And then after that, I'll chop it up and compost it. But there are many things that you could do with it. So that's going to be coming soon, either this weekend or next weekend, depending on the weather. I'm going to get in here and I'm going to cut this down, layer everything on top as a mulch, and then it's just going to sit, break down, feed the soil life, and then it will be rich and ready to go for my next crop in this bed. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and of course in the comments, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.